Hi, loved ones. I'd like to turn now to the prophet Isaiah, chapter 55, verses 1 through 3. And those are the verses that say, "Come, all you who are thirsty, come on down to the waters. And you who have no money, come on, buy, eat. Come buy things that you can't afford without money and without cost. Why spend money on what is not bread, and your labor on what does not satisfy? Attend to me," this is God speaking, "and eat what is good, and you will delight in the best of fare. Attend and come to me. Attend that you may live." And that takes us through the first part of verse 3. The verse cut there actually then slides into a more traditional pledge, promise, covenant that has to do with worldly kings, worldly governance, and so. But I'm really interested in these first 2.5 verses because they are invitations about the what if related to justice. What if this were a just world? What would that be like? And Isaiah is speaking to these listeners, these attenders, these people that are around the prophet who are feeling pretty low, pretty helpless, pretty discouraged. They've suffered from a great deal of injustice. These are not the powerful people, by and large, that are having these words shared with them. And instead, Isaiah is inviting them to imagine the world that is just. And this happens regularly throughout the book that's attributed to the prophet Isaiah, where we're imagining a wonderful world, a better world. What does that look like? What does that feel like and taste like? And here, really, it's about taste and thirst. Taste and thirst. Because when we don't have enough, we don't have clean water to drink, and we don't have enough all the beverages that are available are things that we have to purchase, right? And we have limited funds. There's real discussion here about people who don't have any money, any funds, who are disempowered in the economy of the day. "Come, all you who are thirsty, come to the waters. You have no money, come on down, buy and eat of this goodness. Buy good things that don't require money, that don't have cost." So there's an imagination that we're free from the economies of deprivation. What would that be like today? Would that be like, "Come all you who are thirsty, and we're going to have public, clean, available, free drinking water? And it doesn't matter if you don't have money. There's plenty to eat that will nourish you, and we'll make sure you have that." I understand this is why this is a vision of justice. It isn't about those things will always exist. In that moment, when Isaiah is speaking, they don't exist. And in this moment, they don't exist for everybody either. And so the call for justice continues to invite us to this imagination that we're here, we can cross over to here. We can only cross over to here if we know where here is. And so Isaiah invites us to think, what would that be? So take a few moments. Settle in. Notice not only what you're saying no to, a vital and important part of getting onto the road to justice, what we don't want, but what you're saying yes to. What do we want? What does justice feel like, taste like, smell like? How is that settled in our bodies? As I'm recording this, I'm in the middle of the full moon, and for me, that invites me to consider the idea of one of the images of justice that I want so very much is for everybody to have access to green spaces wherever they live that they can go to at any time, day or night, and experience safety, no matter who they are. So that they don't have to worry about, because of color of skin, because of endemic racism, because of gender or perceived gender, that there might be violence against themselves in this space. That we could go and picnic under the moonlight. And of course, to picnic under the moonlight suggests that there's water to drink and there's enough food for everybody. And that's part of why that's one of my favorite imaginings of the just world that I'm working for. That it would be okay under the full moon for people from our diverse communities to roll and walk out on to these spaces that's supposed to belong to the public in the middle of the night under the beautiful moon and gather one with another in safety, in harmony, a chance to have a moonlight picnic. What's your imagining of the just world? How does that taste? What does that undo in injustice and create injustice? That is, it creates for justice. That's one of the problems with speaking about justice and injustice is we need to pay attention to not eliding the words. It's so easy to move from justice to how it is injustice, that is, to what's not just. So let's roll back. Come, all you who are thirsty, come to the waters. This is the prophet Isaiah speaking in the voice of the Holy One. Come, all you who are thirsty, come to the waters, and you who don't have any money, come on down and buy and eat anyway. Come, get the best that there is, the most nourishing that there is, without money and without cost. Why spend money on what is not nourishing and your labor on what does not satisfy? Attend. Attend to the Holy One and eat what is good, and you will delight in the best of what is. Now, the implication here is also in the best of what could be. Attend and come to God. Attend that you may live. It's a beautiful invitation. An invitation to enoughness. Because this is the expression of the lack of justice, that only some people get enough, and that others are not considered even necessarily enough to be people, to be offered that enoughness. In the just world, enoughness belongs to everyone. So when we're thirsty, our thirst is met. And when we're hungry, we are nourished. And no one hungers or thirsts or wastes labor on what does not satisfy. Ask yourself, what is your understanding of the world for justice that you're seeking? Really get specific about it. Just as specific as Isaiah's being, and just as specific as I was in my example of the moonlight picnic in the public spaces where everyone is safe, no matter who they are, no matter how they move through life, or their skin color, or their gendering, or any other aspect of their being, that those places are theirs, and that there's enough to eat and enough to drink, that we can gather in those spaces together and create this better world, this celebration of being that is, in fact, our birthright. We just may not have known it. And that is the reality of injustice, taking away from us what really could be our lives in a much better in a much more beautiful and a much more wonderful way. To begin the question of what if. What if the world was just? How does that taste and smell and feel? What else is different? Not framed in the negative, but framed in the positive. The negative tells us what we cannot endure any longer, what we refuse to do any longer. The positive invites us into where we're headed. And one of my experiences is that positive framing often brings others that I might not have known I shared that positive framework with into the conversation, because they too would love that imagining, even if what I'm saying no to raises their fears. What I'm saying yes to is in an invitation, just like this invitation from Isaiah, an invitation of what holy goodness and justice and love, really active love, looks like. Thanks for joining me today. I wish you well.